What is going on, YouTube? It's Jay Coffee on a vid, back at it, and quite the crime news story breaking today. As you see, former NFL player Daniel Muir in custody, and what a crazy story this is. First and foremost, thank God this kid is okay. His 14-year-old son, Bryson, who was missing for 2 weeks, child abuse allegations. You see the kid has had a shiner, allegations of a religious cult, the cult leader speaking out, saying this, like comparing what's going on here as SWAT raided Daniel Muir, the former player's house, arresting him and his wife. And, the leader of this group or cult, Straightway Ministries, which is tied to this Servant Leaders Foundation company who own that former NFL player's car and house. The leader of it, though, is Charles Dow. And like I said, he's comparing this, their compound being raided to back what happened with David Koresh. And I personally don't think it's the last that we're going to hear of this story. I believe the investigation is just getting underway. I mean, in the past, comment you guys, over the years, we've seen when religious groups that live on compounds that are referred to as cults, and many of them are, in my opinion, cults, flat out, the feds get involved and they don't mess around.
Indiana police are desperately searching for a boy officials believe to be in extreme danger. His name is Bryson Muir, and the 14-year-old hasn't been seen in more than 2 weeks. His grandmother told police her grandson is the victim of child abuse by his father, former NFL player Daniel Muir.
It hurts me that anyone could be beaten like that. It hurts that a parent would allow that. And, it hurts that my daughter would allow anyone to do that to her child.
And now police are trying to figure out if his disappearance is tied to a religious cult. And News Nation's Ryan Bass has the very latest on this. Ryan, what's the latest information with trying to find Bryson?
Nick, if anything, it feels like there's been a step backwards here, with the 14-year-old's parents originally agreeing to meet with police and then backing out at the last second. And now his ex-NFL player father is a person of interest in Bryson's disappearance. Indiana State Police say Bryson is considered missing and endangered, and they're worried about his state right now, especially after accusations that he was given a black eye by his father, Daniel, who played defensive tackle for the Indianapolis Colts. Here's the photo of Bryson that his grandmother, Cheryl Wright, who you just heard from, shared with police. And the reason, she says that she called them. Cheryl said the boy admitted it was his father who struck him, giving him the swollen eye and busted lip. Now, the boy was last seen on June 16th, that's Father's Day, in Ohio, at his grandma's house. When his mother came to pick him up, the car driven by Bryson's mother, Kristen Muir, was pulled over shortly after by police, but there was no sign of Bryson. Now, there was a silver alert issued for the missing teen, Nick, after the parents backed out of that meeting that was originally scheduled to be with police on Friday.
Brian, I mentioned into your intro that religious possible tie. Are police looking into any type of a religious group, or what connection do they have to the family?
Yeah, there is a slight interest here in terms of a religious group tied to this whole thing. So state police say the Muir's home and SUV are actually owned by a nonprofit religious group called Servant Leaders Foundation. And there's some suspicion that Bryson is actually being hid on a religious compound known as the Straightway Truth Ministry, which is a Tennessee-based religious group that some online have labeled as a cult. And Daniel Muir appears to be a pastor here at Straightway, with video of a man that looks like him preaching from a stage to a cheering crowd on Straightway's YouTube channel. Now, Bryson's grandmother told our affiliate that she feels the teen is being, quote, brainwashed into his parents' way of thinking on that religious compound, which is just outside of Indianapolis.
We, of course, will keep that 14-year-old in our prayers and hope for his safe return. Ryan, thank you so much.
All right, so you guys hear all the news there. That was when the child was still missing, as he was visiting his grandma, the mother of the child's mother. And, she's seen that this kid had a shiner, and he let her know, hey, my dad did this to me. And she alerted the authorities immediately, but, let her daughter take her grandson, the daughter's child, with her back from Ohio, back out to Indiana. And, from that point on, once the authorities got involved and started reaching out to the family, you heard they said, oh, we'll meet with you. they backed out, didn't meet with him. There was a point in time that car was pulled over, no sign of the child. And basically what it seems like was happening, in my opinion, comment and let me know if you guys agree, is they were trying to hide this kid for as long as they could to try to cover up his injuries, hoping that they would heal, as he was missing for 2 weeks. And as right now you see, it's just Daniel Muir, former NFL player, and his wife in custody. Felony obstruction of justice charges for both of them, but a misdemeanor battery for Muir, the father. But like I said, I don't think this is going to be the last we hear of this. A religious cult, the leader, talking ish, speaking out about this. Like you said, he's referencing the whole David Koresh story. And, like I said, just off the rip, a cult and child abuse going on. No matter what, I think the feds would start investigating this, period. But on top of that, you have him talking about that incident that happened with Koresh. And I don't know, to me, it almost seems like he's, I don't want to say, should I say antagonizing the federal government? Comment if you guys agree with me on that. You know what I'm saying? The feds don't mess around with these cults, period. But for him to bring that up and, be speaking out in the way in which he is, I think they're going to come down on this cult or group or whatever, their whole compound, even harder than they would have to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really believe this is just the beginning of this story and this investigation. And what does everyone think? I mean, to each their own. Some people believe, to raise a kid, that physical discipline is necessary. And I'm not even going to get into that whole debate or not. But for a kid to have a shiner and a swole up face, I mean, what the fluck? Although I will say I definitely had a shiner or two or a busted head growing up in my youth. But it most definitely isn't right. You know what I mean? The fact that this kid was missing for so long and, there's belief by the authorities that other individuals in this cult helped hide the kid. In the meantime, I got a feeling that we're going to see the feds come down on this group, and I don't know, they might turn this into like a criminal conspiracy, endangering a child or abusing a child. And I want to know, as always, what everyone else out there thinks about this story. Jump in the comments. Let's talk about it. Let me know if you've heard of this group, the Straightway Ministries or whatever it's called, the Servant Leaders Foundation. I tell you, man, these religious cults creep me the fuck out. Okay, every time I've seen some real intense journalists really get behind the wall and dig in and really unveil what's going on behind the curtain with a lot of these groups, to me, it's disturbing. You know what I mean? Most of the time, from my recollection, I'm not trying to sit here and say anyone who believes in raising their family or whatever in a different way than what is the typical way. I'm not looking down on individuals, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying a lot of these times there's some weird ass ish going on with these cults. And that's all I'll really say on that. Muir, too, he was in the NFL, not a very eventful career. He played for the Colts, bounced around with some other teams or whatever. His career was over relatively quickly. He didn't make much of a splash, as I'm sure some football fans, when they saw the story, were like, Muir, wait, who is this guy? But he was around a little bit, didn't do too much in the league. And I don't know, that's about all we got for now. Let me know your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for updates. It's Jay Coffee Talk signing out, y'all. Peace.